Hello, and welcome to this special Family Day weekend episode of the Believers Lounge podcast. As usual, we're glad that you joined us. Today, I am joined by my co-host. Actually, you know what? Hold on a second. You already know what I'm going to say. And you already know who's with me, so we'll forgo the typical rhetoric here, and I'll just say it. Hi, John. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. That didn't sound convincing, didn't it?
Not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest. Yeah, no. I'm doing pretty good, actually. I'm looking forward to getting into this episode today. For our listeners, when you're hearing this episode, it will be 2 days before Family Day.
Yep.
But we're actually recording this episode when a lot of people are watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we are not watching the Super Bowl. I don't think we're not football fans.
No, not really.
I'm usually more of the free food at the party fan.
Yeah, I'd have to say that I'm also in that category. But I don't go uninvited. I wait for the invitation.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Now, I mean, when the NHL playoffs are in session, we'll have to really...
We are not in session when the playoffs are in session.
We'll have to manage our time a little bit better, eh?
We'll do it in between periods. That's what we'll do.
Anyway, not to get off topic here, but this episode today, you've already guessed it, we're going to be talking about family. But not just family in general, but what a Christ-centered family is. And we'll talk about two articles that we've done some research on and we feel are a good reference. And we'll be kind of focusing on God's design of family and how we can build a Christ-centered home. So I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah.
Just a few things, John, I think we should mention before we start. I don't know how many of you like Christian music, but if you've been listening to the podcast, you know John and myself, we enjoy talking about music and listening to music. And unofficially, there may be some episodes in the future sometime, can't confirm, where we might talk more about music, so stay tuned. But no, quite simply, we just wanted to let you know that one of our favorite bands, the Newsboys, they are, after a long time, finally coming back to Canada. And they're going to be doing a tour across Canada this summer as part of their Worship Revival Nights tour. But the reason why we're highlighting this is not just because we like the Newsboys, but because they're actually coming to our area. So I just wanted to let you know, if you're interested in catching a concert, go to faithlive.ca and you'll be able to find dates and tickets there. Just want to quickly let you know, of course, we're not affiliated with the Newsboys. We're not sponsored by Faith Live. We just really like Christian music, and we want to let you know that that's happening. But yeah, something's a little different about the band now, though, eh, John?
Yeah, I've heard Michael Tate is taking his retirement.
He is. He's chosen to step down. It seems quite abruptly as well. But he put out a post to social media, again, just mentioning how after prayer and consideration, he's felt it's time to step down. So, but regardless, it should still be a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, Anyway, yeah, so just go to faithlive.ca for tickets. Also, we just really want to, before we get into the episode, just want to highlight a Christian radio station. They're called UCB Canada. They're the Christian radio station in our local area. But what we wanted to highlight was their website. Again, we're not affiliated with them, but they have a really good rundown of all Christian concerts and tours that are happening in Canada. Just go to ucbradio.com and navigate to the concerts and tour page, and they have a really good list of different things happening here in Canada. So, I don't know. Might find something you like there, but...
Yeah, it's a great resource to find concerts.
For sure. All right, well, let's get into today's episode.
Let's do it. So, Family Day. It seems like it's a relatively new civic holiday here in Ontario. I mean, we started it back in 2008. But we are not the first province to celebrate it by far.
I was just going to say, who's the first province?
It was actually Alberta, and they started celebrating it back in 1990.
Oh, quite a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, and then it was all the way till 2007 when Saskatchewan started celebrating it as well, and then we followed the previous year.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, the holiday is celebrated by most of the provinces, and I think one of the territories, the Yukon.
We're just trying to figure out if our information's accurate here or not.
Yes, most of the holidays are celebrated as heritage days.
That's right, yes.
To celebrate the country's collective history, architecture, and cultural heritage. Just here in Ontario, they decide to call it Family Day.
And perhaps in some other circles, Dalton McGuinty re-election day.
Yes, that was a big thing, and I believe he did get re-elected after that.
Yeah. And it seems like most areas in Canada celebrate a version of Family Day. Whether it's Islander Day out in Prince Edward Island, or it's Heritage Day in, the Yukon and other places perhaps, right? It seems to have the same idea, right? So, but personally, I kind of like the idea of calling it Family Day.
I do as well.
Here in Ontario, I don't know if you remember, when it first started, or perhaps just after the first few inaugural Family Days, the holiday did put emphasis on making a conscious effort for families to get together. Yes. And to spend time with each other. And yeah, I was on board with that.
Yeah, I remember we had tried to make it a family game day. Or we would try and go somewhere as a family, but then a lot of places end up being closed on Family Day.
That's right.
So you couldn't really go out with your family. And then they decided to put it in February where if you want to go out and do something, say at a park or a provincial park, it's nice and cold, and I don't know, go family sledding or something like that.
I mean, back in 2008, I'm going to take a wild guess. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure February was a colder month than it is now. So I mean, colder perhaps, but maybe what I'm thinking of is there's more snow. Again, whether I'm right or wrong, the winter activities, just going off of your point there, is was definitely something that I looked forward to, and it didn't have to be skiing or any of the specialized activities. Just taking an old, battered, couple of holes in it sled, just out. Sometimes holes in the sled was more fun, although maybe a little more dangerous, but or the what do you call it? The garbage bag down the hill as well. I don't know if you ever did.
No, we never did the garbage bag down the hill. No, we were more into the crazy carpets.
Yes.
We weren't those rich families who got the GT racer sleds that you almost need insurance to ride now.
Wouldn't surprise me if you're getting an insurance quote and after they're running through all do you have home covered? Do you have this covered? Do you have your sleds covered, sir? You know what? I never really thought of that. Well, I don't know. If you go with Geico, it might save you 15% or more. Sorry.
You have to update your medical insurance.
I mean, back then, we kind of do a somersault off of it if we, hit a bump or we turn too sharply, and then, it would be like the mother would, kind of come out. Oh, are you okay? Are you okay? And then maybe the dad would just, be like, they got up. They're fine. But I mean...
Yeah, 5 minutes later, you're flying back down the hill.
Oh, of course, yeah. And not to get too carried away into another conversation, but I mean, it's a good way of, learning sometimes. Experience makes a good teacher. Again, controlled experience, you know what I mean? But which kind of actually that segues nicely into family because, it starts at the home. So we can get into that if you want, unless you had something else you wanted to mention there.
No, let's get right into it.
Alrighty. Well, we can't really talk about, Family Day without talking about family. And we can't really talk about family until we, I believe, understand, what's the purpose of family. Of course, at the service level, it's like, yeah, your family is, your mom and dad who you're born with and your siblings and, the environment you grow up in. And mind you, families are, there's so much to unpack from that. Just in one geographical location, not to mention, other aspects, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of look at the map and go, okay, pick a continent, then pick a country, and then and then you're still not really scratching the surface because sometimes that's not even applicable, right? But again,
the family dynamics nowadays are so vast. You have your nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
You have families with no children. You have families with adopted children. You have multi-generational households now.
And some cultures have an emphasis on that too, right?
Yes.
So, it's I feel pretty confident saying that the kind of the North American view for the longest time was, oh, you move out and you and your spouse and you go get a house, and that it's quite common, not just in North America. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't know, but I would hope that it's not just a North American thing too. But then, other cultures, especially some in Europe and maybe elsewhere, will live with their grandparents, or again, they'll all live in a home together, or different kind of configurations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Now, for us, we both had the advantage of growing up in Christian households.
We did, yes. That's right.
So where we, had that very foundational, we all go to church on Sunday, the whole family, and if you're sick, you better, throw up and prove it, and if you did throw up, then don't you feel better? Come on, go to church. Probably the praying at every meal, Bible reading, either before or after the meal, bedtime stories, bedtime Bible readings, bedtime prayers.
For myself, it wasn't as I don't know what word to use, liturgical or structural, or again, not saying that's what you were describing there, but mine wasn't similar. No, it wasn't that much different in that regards, but a little different, but to the same point, right?
Right.
So, that's pretty much it, right? And so similar environments growing up, so we understand when we mention things, we understand the context and the connotations we use. Because we've gone through a lot of the similar things growing up, right? So, but I've to be honest, I've wondered. Sometimes it's like, well, how do other families, go about? And I mean that there's so many different ways, right? Like it's difficult to really understand that.
Yeah, I remember one of my cousins. They did pretty much their own family Bible study, and then in the morning before they all went to school, they'd have 15-20 minutes where they're all together and they discuss the Bible study, and then off to school.
Okay, that's a little different, but
yeah. I experienced it one day when after staying over for the night, and it was completely new to me. We never did anything maybe that structured.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different places that I've personally been, and I've wondered, okay, this is a really different structure. And in the same way, it's interesting to see how other families, not only conduct themselves, but incorporate Bible reading and prayer and essentially God into their family structure.
Yeah. I know growing up for us, a lot of that, I don't know if it was the same for you, a lot of it for us was watching VeggieTales.
Oh, yeah.
There was, it was either VeggieTales or the Steve Green Hide 'Em in Your Heart videotapes.
Can't say I watched any of those growing up, no, but the VeggieTales I can relate to. Yeah.
And then what we're going to allude to a little later on with Focus for the Family.
Or Focus on the Family.
Focus on the Family. There was a lot of movies that they produced.
That's right.
I can think of a couple of them off my top of my head was Rigoletto, Behind the Waterfall. There's a couple that are slipping my mind. I think the big one that we all watched.
The one on the radio and the one that
I'm not even thinking that one yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes, Adventures in Odyssey.
Adventures in Odyssey, that's right, yeah.
Yes, no, the one I was about to allude to was the movie No More Baths.
Hold on a second. You're just blowing my mind right now. Is that actually part of the...
Was that Focus on the Family? I believe it was.
I don't know.
Well, we have the handy-dandy internet.
Oh, you weren't supposed to tell people about that? Now they know.
Our secret's been exposed.
Yes, it has. Let's take a look here.
I think, yeah, it was feature films for the family.
1998.
Yeah, well, these were not specifically Christian movies. They still instilled the core values that you don't typically get in movies nowadays.
That's right. There's we talk a little bit about actually we talk a decent amount about that with Alec.
Yes.
In our Christianity and Media episode.
Yeah, so if you haven't checked that episode yet, I highly recommend you do so.
So to kind of pull all our thoughts together here, let's quickly look at the purpose of the family, right? Because we know what a family is, hopefully, and we've heard it talked about quite a bit. But what is a biblical view of family? Like, what's God's intended purpose? Again, we're not experts on these topics. We're just going to go over our thoughts and some things that we found beneficial. This is one of two articles that we'll be referencing from, as John said, Focus on the Family. We will have both these articles in the description as well, if you'd like to read them and get a little bit more information. Just to quickly go over this one. What Focus on the Family says, and again, I'm quoting from the article. They said the two essential elements of family, which they define as marriage and parenthood, reveal God's character like nothing else in creation. The love between a husband and a wife, it provides us a glimpse of Christ's passionate devotion to us as his bride. In the same way, the ups and downs of parenthood offer a compelling picture of God's tenderness and patience towards us as his children. I don't know about you, John, but when I read the second part there, the ups and downs of parenthood, reflecting God's patience with our ups and downs as he is our heavenly Father, it kind of low-key blew my mind.
Yeah, well, you see that all throughout the Bible when God is dealing with the Israelites. There's it's such an up and down roller coaster with the Israelites' obedience and disobedience towards God. And I mean, how much are we're obedient to our parents and then we're disobedient to our parents, and you get that up and down growing up, and then you hit the teenage years, and
and that's less of an up and down and more of a north, south, east, west.
Yes, I've heard a comedian say that God's revenge on us as teenagers. That
was that
whether how accurate that is, I don't know. I don't have teenagers.
Was that our preferred Christian comedian that we like to watch?
No, this was a different one. Same group. It was Jeff Allen.
Okay. Yep.
But for a more in-depth study on the purpose of family, we can allude to a couple texts into the Bible. There's Exodus 20, verse 12, which is honor your father and mother. which alludes to the obedience towards your parents.
One of the sorry, I was just going to say I believe it's one of the commandments, right?
Yes,
that's that passage. Yeah.
Yes, commandment number.
See, now I wish I would have done Bible quizzing. Is this number 7?
No. Number 7 is shall not commit adultery.
It's 6 then.
No, 6 is shall not murder.
It's 8?
No, 8 is thou shalt not steal.
I don't know what number it is, but I know that is the only commandment with a promise.
Yes.
I do know
yes.
that. Honor your father and mother. Do you know what the promise is?
I believe it is long life.
I believe it's so you may live long in the land that God has prepared for you. Is that the scripture? I should pull it up, actually.
We should pull it. We have half. We have half the verse.
We have Bibles here, like
yeah.
But sorry, no. Which commandment?
It is number 5.
It is number 5.
Yes.
So the halfway point.
Yes. It is the first commandment that deals with everyone else on earth. The first 4 commandments are the vertical commandments that
that's
you
right.
are
yes, that's right. Exactly.
Commanded to be with God. And then from 5 to 10 is dealing with everyone else on earth.
So the promise is so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you.
Is giving you.
Interesting. That's
so I would immediately assume that would mean heaven.
I mean,
or is that him speaking to the Israelites for the land of Canaan?
The promised land.
The promised land.
I believe that's what he's mentioning, yeah. I just find that interesting that the NIV... sorry to try and interrupt you there. That's the NIV that I read, and perhaps the ESV or other translations might say something different, but yeah, I notice is giving you, which... Again, yeah, it just made me thought of the promised land.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, just as a quick side note here, just because the commandments are in the Old Testament, they are so... I'm going to say important because my mind can't come up with any synonyms for important right now. They're important to know, and they're... Even though they were all the way back then, and this is, again, something that makes me kind of scratch my head is like, a lot of the movement today of, it's we're all about Jesus, and it's just, Jesus and, and the love and the mercy and the grace and everything that he brings. And that doesn't, just because that has happened, that does not make the Old Testament or other parts irrelevant. The whole Bible is, from Genesis to Revelation, is relevant. It's important. Again, I'm going to use the word important, right? Back then and now, as again, First or Second Timothy talks about the importance of Scripture as well. So, anyway, just really quick side note on that. Sorry, but yeah, let's get into some other scriptures here about family.
I'm going to jump straight to Ephesians, where here's probably where we're going to get the most, I don't want to say controversy, but this is the one that maybe rubs people a little, where Ephesians 5:22 to Ephesians 6:4, it alludes to wives submit to your husbands, husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church, children obey your parents, fathers do not provoke your children to anger, but bring up in the discipline of the Lord.
Yeah, I can understand how that can definitely some people might not. I don't know.
Well, it
Like the work.
alludes, yeah, it almost alludes to the family dynamics where the man is the head of the household and everyone else is kind of underneath. But I think what husbands are meant to be is the spiritual leader of the family. That is the role that God has tasked men specifically with, to be the spiritual leaders of the household. So it falls on their shoulders. That could be a heavy burden to bear.
I think you're spot on with that. At the same time, and I know I've experienced this personally, but in spiritual aspects, husbands and wives, they're a team, right? And so, whereas I also believe the man is is the head of the household and, assumes the responsibilities thereof. And that is not an easy task. But at the same time, in partnership with their wives, again, the wife could be a more mature Christian, like she could know, been a Christian longer, or has different spiritual gifting, and of course, right? Like we're all going to have different, right? But there's a way that God brings us together, and how they can, how wives and husbands can come together, and in that combined strength, still assume the roles that are given, right? And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why some people don't like, or maybe don't understand the wording here, because they're like, well, they might think that is, that was, what they did back in the day, but that's not now, right? Or I can understand, women, saying, I don't want to be, relegated to this, and all the stereotypes and everything that come with that, right? I can definitely understand that. But let's not assume that we know more than God. God has a clear structure in place. And again, this might be controversial. There might even be people listening who may not listen to us afterwards. But I firmly believe in the same light as the passage in Ephesians says, that the man is a spiritual leader of the household. And likewise with churches, a man should be the senior pastor of a church. And because, again, these are the roles that God has given to us, right? But again, it's not to define notions that we as humans think. It's because God has a structure that benefits everybody. The father is blessed by his children and his wife. The wife is blessed. Each person is blessed by the other members of the family. And they grow in love together, and they grow with God. Again, all the fruit and the different things that come out of that because of how God has structured it, right? So,
yep, and like every time, like almost like clockwork, when we follow God's plan, it works. When we don't follow God's plan and it all seems to fall apart, who do we have to blame but ourselves? I have to remind myself many times over. I was reminded in church this morning, when we follow God's plan, when we follow God's rules, God's guidance for our lives, that, I mean, it's not going to be easy life when we follow God's rules. We're not promised that.
No, that's right.
But we will grow in faith. We will feel the love of God. Have a deeper faith.
Exactly. And I think that's a really, and that's an important part of the family. As family as a whole should be, especially for if we look at it from the aspect of children growing up, should be a place where children learn, the fruit of the Spirit, and learn about God. So then when they get old enough, they can make their own decision to follow Jesus, right? Because, we can't have our parents' faith.
Yep. And what's the verse? Train up a child in the way they will go, and when they are older, they will not deviate, I don't remember the exact wording.
It's roughly that, yeah. Actually, that would have been a good verse to have in our outline here. I'm surprised we didn't. But yes.
That's the Spirit working right there.
Exactly. And just quickly, another point is family is an environment where we can learn discipline as well. Like the discipline of self-control, but then also we can make mistakes in an environment that will that loves us enough that will want us to not repeat the same things. Definitely in an environment where the consequences is not as strict as the real world is, because there's very much a difference, right? And so, yeah, a good family structure is so important, and it's no wonder why Satan has targeted the family structure, the ideology of the family structure as well, too, right? Because he knows that, people strong in their faith, but then also a strong family is a force to be reckoned with. And so, that again, yeah, I'm not just talking from, again, the notes from the article, I'm talking from, personal experience as well, or as well, I should say. So,
yeah, and then let's also not forget the fact that, we do live in a fallen, sinful world. We are all sinners, and we all do still make mistakes. Like, in the family structure, children make mistakes. That's how they grow and learn. Parents also make mistakes. There are no perfect parents. You might have experienced parents if, you've raised, 5, 6, 7, 12 children. It seems to be that, the people who have the most experience raising children are the grandparents, who are trying to teach their children how to raise their children, but their children don't want to listen to the parents. They're like, no, I'm going to raise my child as I need to raise my child. And
there's, oh dear, we could talk about the current state of affairs when it comes to parenting. We could talk a lot about that, but just as a recap, though, are situations different? Not really. Are the times in which we live dictate different different struggles, yes. But it seems to be the underlying, tendencies of wanting our own way and things like that nature seems to be around for as long as humans been around, right? Like as we've been talking about, right?
Yeah. But the one constant that we've had throughout history is God. We alluded to this in our New Year's episode.
That's right.
That though everything may change in society and the world today, God is always constant. He'll be, the same yesterday, today, and forever.
That's right. And again, not to go on too much of a rabbit trail, but since our New Year's episode, especially North America, a lot has changed.
Yes.
And
a lot of uncertainty.
Yes. God is still the same.
Yeah.
His promises are the same as they were back then.
And the end of the story,
yes,
has not and will not change.
It's not only a reassuring thought, it's actually a joyful thought.
Yeah.
How about we quickly just move to our second article here? We understand that not everyone has maybe, trying to think how to say this. Not everyone has maybe been raised in a Christian home, or their home life is very different. Again, there are some people who've grown up with family issues of some sort, whether minor or major, but it's very difficult to categorize because every situation is different and unique in a way, I guess, right? And so, but regardless of where you've come from, if you yourself, desire to have a Christ-centered home, well, our second article here talks just about that and talks about a few characteristics of a Christ-centered home. And fortunately, we don't have the time to go into all of them, but please go ahead and read the article on your own time. But one I wanted, if there's one I can highlight from the list of about 6 or 7 of them here, is a Christ-centered home should be marked by grace. And I like how Focus on the Family said it here. They said it should be a safe place to mess up. Family members need the ointment of grace applied to the wounds of the heart. They need to remember that love, not perfection, is the goal. There's enough hostility, judgment, sarcasm, and things like that out in the world. Home should be a retreat where the hurting can find comfort, rest, and healing. Again, not to get distracted that, we need discipline sometimes, and, there's things that will mess up, and, the experience teaches us, right? And so there's that aspect of it too. But I believe what Focus on the Family is talking about is, the real world issues that might come up later, and how the home is a place to know that you are loved, and it's okay to try things, and if things don't work out, that at the end of the day, the actions of your parents should be because they love you enough to care, right? And yes, that will mean discipline. That will, but that should be the underlying thing, I guess you can say. Love, not perfection. And I'm very thankful that I grew up in a home that applied this principle. And I was not a easy child to deal with. We'll just say that. But I'm thankful for godly parents. And yeah, that's a thing that children do need. I personally believe. So, any thoughts on that there, John? Or?
When I hear that, I hear the church.
Okay.
And taking it from a Christian community standpoint of what we spoke on our last episode, so too should the church be a safe place when you need the ointment of grace applied to the wounds of your life, that you can go to the church. The church should be that safe place where you can go. Yes, you repent of your sins to God, but you can also go to the church, confess your sins, and start that healing process from a pastor, elders, even just small group if you're a part of one, where as a Christian community, a Christ family, we come together and help each other.
That's really important too, eh? And I like that you looked at it from that angle as well too. Yeah, the church family, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't. It definitely should be a safe place to come, and when the article here says there's enough hostility, judgment, sarcasm out in the world, church shouldn't have any of that either.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They shouldn't have pointing at you because they think you're different. That just actually reminded me of the old Casting Crowns song. What's it called? Off of the very first album. In the song, they're talking about people coming to the church and they don't feel like they're connecting, or they're getting, I'm going to lose my point here.
I'm going to lose my mind here if I don't think of it soon.
If Everyone Prayed?
If Everyone Prayed.
I think that's the song.
Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah, it's off of the first album. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off of my point here. But, if we can be, accepting of the person and not the sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's a lot of similarities between the church and in the church family, and then the I guess biological family structure, or it's not always biological, right? There's adoptive families and different things like that, right?
So, the nuclear family.
The nuclear family. Sorry, yes. I don't have those kind of words in my vocabulary. Yes, I trust on your vocabulary to help me out. Yeah. There was something else I was going to mention, but can't think of it. So we definitely, like I said, we recommend going to listen, take a look at the articles. They're really Focus on the Family is a really good resource for marriages, for families, raising children, how to connect, anything involving family. Yeah, they're a really good resource, and we personally believe that they're rooted quite firmly in the truth of the gospel and the truth of the Bible. And so, we recommend you check them out.
Proverbs 1, verse 8. Listen, my son, to your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching.
Well, we've come to the end of today's episode. We thank you for taking the time to listen, especially if you're still listening at the end here. John and I appreciated our conversation. It's really cool to find out different, I guess, things about family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I found out some new things, I guess, by reading the articles and doing some research on the topic. So, we normally don't do an episode and without a bit of research and such, right?
Yeah.
So, but thank you for listening. Again, just want to let you know that the links to the concerts that we did in the intro, as well as the articles, will be available in the description. And we look forward to our next episode in 2 weeks' time. So that's about it. So we will we'll see you in the next episode.